This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Very pleasant good evening. Time for Small Biz Florida from IRSC with Mr. Tom Kindred.
Yes, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that is all things business across the Treasure Coast and the entire state of Florida. Small Biz Florida is brought to you by the Florida Small Business Development Center Network and is produced by the Florida SBDC at Indian River State College. Small Biz Florida is designed and produced to highlight and promote business assistance resources, celebrate entrepreneurial success, present best practices, and most importantly, provide timely business information for Florida's small business owners and operators. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve as the Regional Director for the Florida SBDC at IRSC. And as I always like to tell folks, I have the scars of 25 years of small business ownership. So for me, the mission of this program is simple. Make sure small business owners are aware of all the powerful business assistance programs available to help them start, grow, and succeed. So, Greg, good evening. How are you this evening?
You also have scars of 5 years of working with me.
Yes, I do have the scars of radio. Yes, that's those are scars. I have the scars after today of publishing. It was
That's
deadline.
right.
Yes, deadline today.
You're
for the
a
summer.
published author.
That's right. Deadline today for the summer issue of Treasure Coast Business. Unfortunately, the last two issues we've had to dedicate kind of to tips, information, and updates on COVID, which, I kind of like to say, I don't know what, 2-3 weeks ago we had glimpses of some normalcy returning to business operation, only to a week later, face the realities that we are still in a very challenging, unpredictable marketplace. So, unfortunately, for another issue, the Treasure Coast Business Magazine that should be on the streets in probably a week and a half will be dedicated to how we continue to work our way through COVID.
Yeah. Well, IRSC had to postpone summer camps, but they opened them.
Wow.
It's SRO time at the pool, standing room only. So they are sold out. The girls' basketball will return at July 20th. Boys' basketball, July 13th. Volleyball camp, July 24 and 5. And baseball, July 20th through 30th. And softball, August 29. So those are the camps. All you have to do is go to the IRSC EDU website and sign up for summer camps on the athletic site.
Nice.
Real simple. Yeah.
That's good. Maybe that's a good sign that there is some normalcy returning to college campuses. So I'm glad to hear that camps are off and running, and some are even sold out.
Well, the NCAA has allowed athletes in by the end of July. So, but they're talking about the possibility, if this does get a little worse, of spring football.
Wow.
That the football season for the, for in the state, well, throughout the United States, would begin after the Super Bowl through May.
Well, I never thought of that as an option, but
hey, we did it with the USFL, so why not? So it works. Well, but we'll have
that's
to
better than no season at all, I would think.
Yeah.
I hate to. I was really kind of down about the whole, college football season, which is enjoyable. I appreciate.
Well, the NBA is fascinating. I had just gotten off the phone before you got here with the Orlando Magic. And the bubble that they're calling Disney World is basically the countdown is 5 days. The mayor of Orlando is talking about shutting down hotels. Now, if that happens in 5 days, the NBA's okay because they're in the bubble.
Right.
But if this happens sometime in the next 5 days, scrap all the plans and $1 billion worth of planning by the NBA. It's this is a very fluid situation.
Yeah, no doubt. And I
Yeah.
I have to remind there is obviously there's a lot of frustration out there, and even on our end of things, we're trying the CCTI and of course we've got with us a standout instructor this evening that instructs not only for the IRSC School of Business but as a CCTI instructor, Miss Debra Williams. Welcome to the show, by the way, Miss Williams.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. But there's a lot of frustration out there because again, a lot of classes and a lot of coursework that CCTI provides is necessary for folks. We do pre-licensure, we do renewals of certifications. We've got a process server class that's been delayed once. And, a lot of these folks are facing deadlines with renewals of certifications and licenses. So there's a lot of frustration out there with us postponing and pushing off classes. But, I just have to tell folks, look, we're really in unprecedented, uncharted waters here, and we're doing the best we can to make sure that, you get your classes when you need the classes and meet the needs of our business community through the training. So anyway, it's frustrating, but try to explain to people that we're doing the best we can to work within the rules and the guidelines, and sometimes it's easy, but then sometimes it's not so easy it's literally trying to fit 60 people in a room designed for now it's designed for half that many, so it's not easy. So
yeah, it's crazy.
That's one comforting thing for me is that we all are trying to figure it out and watching one another trying to figure it out. So nothing's set in stone. We have to pivot where we can and come up with solutions.
Well, there's no rule book.
There isn't.
When was the last time we had a pandemic? 1918.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think we were here then.
I feel like I was there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But this it unfortunately is an incredible teaching moment for business owners, and we're going to talk a little bit about that with Debra here, but really is an incredible teaching moment for business owners. In the state of Florida, somewhat more than other states, we understand and have a sense of preparing for disasters because of hurricanes. Mm-hmm. But so we're sort of already in that mode most of the time. Then we get a downturn in the economy like we did in 08 and 09. We said, wow, didn't see that one coming. And then, the pandemic, and now we have to say the same thing. Wow, didn't see that one coming. Mm-hmm. So what I have really been most impressed with, and Debra, you may speak to this when we get started with your conversation, but what I have been most impressed with is really that entrepreneurial mindset that some business owners have. Yeah. And they've really been very innovative. They have created whole new business models. They've created new, customer, touch points and created new channels of delivery. And it's obvious in the restaurant business when they closed the restaurants and they had to go to deliveries and curbside service and how people have really been able to respond. And it's not just in the restaurant industry, but that's what's been most impressive. Companies that began building and manufacturing PPE, Piper building the protective equipment, and then small businesses. We had a guest on the show one night. Basically, she kind of dug into her supply chain, found out she had access to sanitizer.
Sure.
So that became her biggest product when she never sold sanitizer before. So I think that's really what's been most impressive for me is to see the innovativeness and the resiliency of small business owners and operators. So
yeah, that's true. You really need to look at things and dig deep because it's survival mode. When you're an entrepreneur, that's your baby. That's your business. So you look at things to increase the survivability of that, and you try to come up with alternative ways to do things to ensure it survives.
Yep. So, Deborah, we jumped ahead, so I'm going to jump back a little bit real quick. Why don't you start us? I already let the cat out of the bag, but you are a standout, one of the best in instruction in the CCTI. You also instruct with the IRSC School of Business. Talk to us a little bit about your background and your pathway to teaching here at Indian River State College.
Okay. Well, initially, my husband and I moved here to Florida, and I retired from a career in another industry. So
You're only about 25. What are you talking
exactly, I retired very early.
about? Yeah, you must have.
Yes.
So I began with Indian River State College teaching adult basic education, and that's with adults seeking to get their GED. So I always look at those students as life happened. Something happened in life where they couldn't complete traditionally their education. And I always approached it that way. And I think because I did, I had so much success. I was very, approachable. Students would come to me and tell me very, very intimate things, personal things, and I could direct them how to get help. So I had a good success rate with adults achieving their GEDs. And what do adults generally do? They come back to thank you. And that was motivation enough for me to continue on. Where I went from there is department chair heard about my creative approaches, and they recruited me to become an adjunct professor for student success. So here I am with adults initially. Now here I am with young people, their first college course. Totally different. And I had really to learn a lot. Thankfully, I had teenage children who are adults now. Now I have teenage grandchildren. So I had a lot of experience with that. But this generation is just a little bit different because they are the technology gurus. So I rely on them a lot. They taught me a lot, and I taught them what they needed to know. With their parents, a lot of times we're too busy raising them to teach them, like finances and the best thing to do. So that I enjoy. I still continue to do today. So there's nothing better to have than a student just you run into and that tells you what they're doing now. You know, I live in a community where I live where I work. So I live in a community where I see my students and they'll run up to me, Professor Williams, I'm over at university, or I'm this, and and it is always a success story once again. So it's very motivating for me.
You know, it's interesting you bring up that class, the student success class, and lots of people really don't understand, but talk just a little bit about that particular class. Kind of unique that actually Indian River State College kind of helps the students actually get prepared before they even begin, kind of pursuing that degree. Just talk just a minute about that class itself.
Yeah, sure. As a matter of fact, I had a student today. She sent me what we call a river mail, an email through the IRSC system, and said, why do we even need this class? That's perfect for me to answer. And I told her, I said, in this class, you will learn how to be a better student. You will learn time management because there is a schedule of assignments you have to do, and there's a due date attached. You have to have it submitted by that due date. So therefore, you have to schedule your time. And there's a lot that you have to do. During summer, it's a 6-week course. You have quite a bit of work to complete within 6 weeks. Not only that is a lot of students, they don't realize their learning style or their learning preference. Are they visual? Are they kinesthetic? Do they like working with their hands? They have no idea until they go through the course and see themselves, oh, that's me. There are a lot of self-assessments that says that you are this type of person, and through all of these self-assessment tests, so to speak, like Myers-Briggs,
Right.
and they say, "Oh my God, that is so me. This is creepy." You know, I felt that way. I took my first Myers-Briggs test back in a long time ago. So in 1977, I remember, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is amazing. It's right on the money." So students will learn that. They'll learn a lot about themselves in addition to the things that I teach them, really, that are outside of the curriculum. Like I said, I think it's important they understand what a credit report is, what a FICO score is, you know, and what happens, how you're supposed to handle your money. So I always do a snippet of finance to the students.
Yeah. What again? What a great class, and it's actually a required course for all new students that are entering in Indian River State College. Is it not?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Tom. It is. It's required.
Yeah. And you know, you touch on something else too. You touch on learning styles, and you know, even in business, you know, when we tried to work on sales skills with sales people, we talked about how to communicate with customers. Some customers, just as you pointed out, were visual. So they wanted to look at, you know, they wanted to look at the pictures in the brochures about the equipment. Some weren't. They were auditory. So that, you know, you'd hand them a brochure and they'd drop that thing on the desk immediately and say, "Tell me about the piece of equipment." So we actually taught those kind of concepts even in sales.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
That you have to communicate in the language of your audience. That is completely the way to get to them. That's a way to, you know, connect. But if you are speaking one language and they understand another, it will never work.
Right.
Yeah.
So talk again. You gave us a little background and pathway to your involvement today with the CCTI and the School of Business, and your experience came out of kind of what industry you.
Well, actually, it was the railroad. I spent 25 years, and I actually retired in 2002. I was the first black female officer of the railroad as an officer.
Wow.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I could put on overalls and a cap and go out and stand, watch trains for hours. I wasn't an engineer. I did just about every job you can think of, but I was a corporate officer in the National Customer Service Center.
Okay, so how many women were involved in the railroad back then?
Yeah, not many. Not many.
I'll bet.
Yeah, not many. So I got a good understanding of how it is to work with men.
You know what?
Well, that'll fill another 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. You know, Professor, I think that's a good topic for a CCTI course. How to work with men. I like that.
Yeah.
So again, you teach again business courses, but let's kind of start. You know, you touched on this a little earlier. Start about your thoughts on the switch to that digital world. You teach a little bit of that in some of the courses that you provide at CCTI. Talk about that.
Yeah, the switch over actually was so abrupt. That's the thing, and I think that's what people had the most difficult time with. The abruptness of switching from face-to-face to 100% online. I've had students tell me, "Well, I just feel lost out here and I'm by myself." But yet and still, when I set up the course, I have my contact information, I have my phone number to my cell, I have my email address out there. But the problem is with switching to 100% online anything, it forces you to read. It forces you to read. Yes. It removes the auditory speaking and explaining and instruction, direction. And it's written. Therefore, you have to read. We're not a society that particularly cares to read, especially the younger generation. They want to be told. They don't want to have to read it.
Generation Zoom.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and I was just going to bring up, Greg kind of touches on a good point. I mean, we were already sort of headed in this direction, really, especially in education. I mean, so many education institutions now were turning to online learning and distance learning. And
Well, you guys at IRSC have done that for years.
well, right. I mean, again, I don't want to throw data out there that's not correct, but I mean, a large portion of our degree programs are online. And that's happening even at the university level too. So we were already sort of heading in this direction, but the COVID-19's really kind of accelerated this. I mean, what are your thoughts on that kind of online learning? Pros, cons with it, and
Well, it really, it's just like college. College isn't for everyone. It's just like that. Online environments, no matter if it's working, no matter if it's education, no matter what it isn't for everyone. Everyone's not intuitive enough to be successful in that environment. So I always think of it like this example. We were so worried about technology pushing people out of positions, out of jobs. We were, the more technology that was developed, I'm going to lose my job and this technology is taking over. Well, look what's happened. COVID-19 came on the scene and it just shut down everything. So now, as you touched on before, I do have those creative ideas from businesses that curbside, touchless, all of these, Uber Eats, DoorDash, all of these things are created and are just exploding now. But it wasn't new technology that pushed us out. It was a pandemic that we didn't expect, and it was abrupt. So that's what I think has everyone, all of us, off kilter, a little unsteady, because we didn't have a chance to ease into it, to learn about it, to adapt to it. We were just thrust into this. So I think it's a good thing online if you are inclined to understand technology.
Right. And I think, online learning, I think, does require a little more discipline on the part of the student. You're a little, you're fed a little bit as a student when you're in the classroom, but online, you're really kind of on your own. You're having to do the research, to your point, do the reading, submit assignments. There's a little more responsibility on the student in that online model.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing that in which I enforce with my students is that IRSC their staff has really provided a robust curriculum. They have rubrics for the students to look at and compare to their work, and look at it and say, oh, I forgot to add this extra thing. It says I need that to get an A. They have videos that connect to YouTube they can watch step by step of how to do the assignment. So I always enforce, don't reach out to me first. Don't make me your first source. Look at your video, read your directions, look at your video, and look at your rubric. If you still don't understand it, I'm always available. Then reach out to me. Yeah. So I try to force them to read, to use the tools that were given to them.
What subjects do you teach in the School of Business?
Leadership and student success.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the leadership class that you teach. What is involved in a leadership class at a student level? Kind of are you introducing them to the concept of leadership, management, supervisory type skills? Talk a little bit about that class itself.
It is. It's a culmination of teamwork, team building, motivation, how you motivate your employees, what a leader is. A lot of people don't know the difference between a leader and a manager. So really what a leader is. It talks about ethics. There are ethics involved. So it's a basic leadership 101 class, but you have to address these things to actually be cognizant of what you should actually have those
Right.
qualities to be a leader.
What what is the School of Business kind of telling you at this point in time? Is there a hope, an expectation that we may in the fall be back to maybe some, at least a hybrid version of classes, maybe some blended online, bringing the students in under some circumstances? And we won't hold you to it, we promise. But because we know it could change tomorrow. But what is the thought? What do you see happening?
I actually think, for what I think, first of all, is that they'll offer online in addition to hybrid classes. Hybrid classes, I don't know what they'll look like. That's the thing. It may be alternate days. So many students come on
Right.
Monday, and then so many will come on Tuesday.
To accommodate a social distancing
Correct.
classroom. Right.
Correct. Yeah. So I think it'd be more of a hybrid type of look, but online is working beautifully, and you can do online hybrid classes online with Collaborate.
Right.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
And Indian River State College they have that platform. I mean, even though this was kind of a surprise to all of us, IRSC was really kind of ready.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the tools, the platform, the online. To Greg's point, we've been doing it for a while. So we were sort of, we had the tools ready for this.
What's interesting is the tools were there. They were dormant for a lot of the adjunct professors. And now I feel so professional in my job. There are things that I can do that I never knew before. So I can actually go on, which I have set up tomorrow at 10:30. I put in the announcements. Everybody log in. I send out the link, and all of my students log in, and we talk about things. So you can,
Nice.
you can have them log in with their video, so they can, if you need to.
Right.
We don't need to, because my class is 100% online.
Now, you've part of what you've come in and you've jumped in with us when all of this began to happen. Pete Tesh and his group down at the St. Lucie County EDC formed what they're calling the Virtual Business Recovery Center, the VBRC. Part of the mission in of the VBRC was to kind of create a clearinghouse, a one-stop shop for business assistance as we kind of moved through this COVID issue. Like a lot of folks, we began to immediately create some content to get it out to the business owners. And you created a couple of classes and coursework for the VBRC. What were some of the topics you provided through that webinar series to the VBRC?
Well, one that I previously did was employers and employees dealing with emotions in times of crisis and change. That's one that I did. I have one coming up, resilient leadership, working through the crisis. So there are different types of approaches. And what I try to get across in those particular webinars it starts with you, of how you deal with this, truthfully. I know some people that are panicked. They're in a panic mode. Doesn't matter. We're all still in the same situation. So if you look at it and become creative and try to really self-soothe yourself to calm down, your creativity will come out, and that will lead you to a better result.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best idea to make decisions when you're maybe in that kind of panicked reaction mode. Again, sometimes you have to, but in this case, you probably there is an opportunity to kind of sit back, assess where you are as a business today, and then maybe try to again use that entrepreneurial mindset, be innovative, and say, okay, where are we today, and how do we work this problem?
Right. You have to look at what you have available to you first. You've lost your ability to do certain things a certain way. and how can you turn that around and do it differently?
Right. Well, and I think also something a business can look at is what's the need out there. The need have changed. Customer, maybe the customers changed. Maybe there are new customers that we can tap into. So I think you're right. You do have to kind of assess the system or assess the situation and take a calm look at it. So that's sort of your resilient leadership kind of a course. Is that kind of what you take people through?
Definitely. And I talk about how when you are a leader, first of all, what you want to do initially as a leader is surround yourself with strong people with strong ethics that you can trust. Trust is huge. So if you can trust your team, you're more relaxed and you're more able to think and know that they'll get the job done and you can come to a consensus. If you don't trust your team, that's chaotic. That's right. Chaos right there.
And your other topic, the dealing with emotions in times of crises. I mean, do you have your top 3 ways to you said something about how did you just put it? You said you have to calm yourself. Yeah, soothe. Yeah, right. Yes. Soothe your right. I mean, do you have your top 3? Here's what you do. You know, when you're getting emotional about this, what do you do when you kind of get emotional like that?
Yeah, for me, self-soothing.
Self-soothing,
yes. Even before I start the day. My day, I wake up, I might feel great, but it doesn't mean that I don't still self-soothe. For me, every day, I have a diffuser, and I put that diffuser on in my office, and I start working. I might meditate for a few minutes. I might sit there quietly and think of things that I need to do to organize and be better at time management for that day. Once you feel accomplished with doing things, getting things completed, I don't know a person who doesn't feel great about they had a great day.
Yes, I feel great when I get a few things done after I clear the 250 emails. Yes,
right. You feel accomplished, right?
Yes,
exhausted
I do.
Yet accomplished.
Yes, somebody told me the other day, Tom, you can't start with the emails.
No.
Don't start the day with the email.
When you have that many.
I know. I'm tempted every day not to start the day with emails. I'm just afraid there might be one in there from Dr. Massey or something. So I guess you're doing some great work with the VBRC. You're obviously doing great work with the CCTI, and I hope that you were kind of one of the standout instructors, or you are one of the standout instructors with CCTI. You were booked up quite often, doing a lot of training for a lot of local businesses. All kinds of types, manufacturers, retailers, nonprofits. You were a big part of the nonprofit institute that Susie Klein kind of led, and we partnered with Center State Bank on that. So you've really done a lot of great work out there in the community with your training and your coursework, and I know folks appreciate it. Kind of as maybe we bring our session here to a close, I mean, kind of talk a little bit about what do you see long-term change here? How could this change us long-term in terms of how we operate businesses?
The pandemic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a great question. I'm hoping for the best on the other side of this. I'm hoping to see a return to face-to-face. I don't know if that's ever possible the way we used to do it, but I'm hoping for that because I'm very much a people person. I am not the online sit at home by myself type of person. Right. So that's the reason why I hope for that. But I honestly must say that IRSC is headed in the right direction, and all of its entities are headed in the right direction because of how quickly you were able to pivot to the change and provide services. So, yeah, I would like to see it return to normal.
I take no credit for that.
This has taught us flexibility.
Right.
You know?
What's that? It's
You guys did, but you pivoted on a dime.
Yes.
well, we our division, but yes, the college, and again, I have nothing to do with that, but the college was able to respond very quickly, and it was pretty impressive.
Yes, it was.
Within really a matter of days, they were able to completely convert those classes from live to online and finish the spring semester, and so it was quite impressive, and I think again, I think it has a lot to do with we have leadership at the college who I've always said, possesses visionary skills. I think is the way to describe it. We have the ability at the college to kind of look ahead and say, what's the marketplace going to look like? Not 5 minutes from now, but what's the marketplace going to look like, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and kind of plan ahead. And I think it still holds true today. I mean, the colleges, it looks like they're getting close to breaking ground on the Treasure Coast Advanced Manufacturing Center. I mean, again, always kind of looking ahead, having the right facilities at the right time, ready to go. So
Well,
I think
Tom,
it's a good point.
that is a top quality of a leader. Is
Vision.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, vision.
Right. Well, and again, I've always, it's one of those things that I look for in people, that they do have the ability to kind of, not focus so much on where we are today, but where do we want to be? And again, it's a business concept too. You've got to have strategic planning, looking ahead into business. Where do we want to be? Set some stretch goals. Where do we want our revenue to be? That you do. You have to, and it is. I believe that is part of that vision.
Right.
Talent. Debra, listen, I cannot thank you enough. You have, again, you've done great work with the CCTI as a business instructor. You are one of the highly requested instructors within the program, and we appreciate what you do. And I know that our clients and partners appreciate your business acumen and your teaching skills, and I know you're a valued part of the Indian River State College School of Business in your role as professor there. So thanks for the great work. Thanks for the dedication to the community and all that you do in terms of supporting our business marketplace.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the invitation. This has been wonderful.
Don't be a stranger.
And listen, I'd want to ride in a train engine one day. Can you pull that off for me?
I don't know if they remember me from 2002. You remember when cabooses used to be used?
Yeah.
They're they're no longer used. So that would have been the time to do it.
You actually rode in one of those cabooses.
Yeah, that wasn't my job, but I did.
Wow.
I'm jealous.
Oh, cool.
I'm jealous.
Well, thank
All right,
you.
Professor. Thank you. And with that, we're going to take just a short break, and we'll be right back with our good friend Bob OBrien to kind of update us on what's happening with corporate training at Indian River State College. Stay tuned.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And this is Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that's all things business across the Treasure Coast and the entire state of Florida. And for those of you just joining us, we just wrapped up a great conversation with a standout CCTI instructor and standout professor with the Indian River State College School of Business, Miss Debra Williams. She does great work for us, great coursework, great experience, great business acumen.
Well, I want to take some of her courses. She sounds great.
That's right.
What a motivator.
I'm lucky. I get to sit in some of those courses.
What a motivator.
Yep.
Wow. Very cool.
So we now have with us, and we've got our good friends, Miss Katie Muldoon, who's actually the producer of Small Biz Florida. Katie, you out there with us?
I'm here, Tom.
All right. And we've got our good friend, Bob OBrien. I wanted to just kind of wrap up this evening's show just to kind of talk about a little bit about where we are in training, where we are with coursework with CCTI. As we spoke earlier in the show, it is still a very fluid situation. We don't have all the facts and figures, but CCTI is responsible for some certification programs that have deadlines, and we understand that. So we're trying to accommodate, trying to get some class work done. And so I just thought I'd have Katie and Bob kind of help us wrap up this evening's show by kind of giving us an update on where we are. I know Katie is also very involved with Pete Tesh and Bill West and the VBRC at St. Lucie County EDC. So Katie, kind of tell us, just give us a quick update. Where are we with the VBRC? Still producing some informational webinars and things of that nature? Still got a schedule out there for that?
Yes, we are still moving forward with the webinars. Coming up, our next one is Wednesday, July 8th at 10 a.m. We're going to talk about using Google Maps to let our communities know that we are open and we are operating, and we're going to talk a little bit about Google Analytics. Our presenter is going to be Leanna Haig. She works with CCTI as well as Ms. Debra Williams. She's also the owner of C-Level Marketing. So again, that's going to be on Wednesday, July 8th at 10 a.m. And then also on Wednesday, July 8th, we're going to talk a little bit more about marketing, but this one's going to be with Patrick Arcement. We're going to talk about how before COVID-19, people had a routine that's now broken, and as people seek to return their lives to normal, they have to keep COVID-19 in the back of their minds, and how we can help here at IRSC. And then we're also going to discuss the message that Americans want to hear based off Fortune 500 business practices and nationwide polling. So I personally am very excited for that one. You can register for both of these by going to youredc.com/VBRC. Again, that's youredc.com/VBRC. And then, of course, on Thursday, we have the great Ms. Debra Williams doing her Resilient Leadership Thriving Through Change presentation at 10 a.m.
All right. Beautiful. So, again, great lineup of informational webinars. And again, I know it's tough for businesses, but they are recorded, correct, Katie, and can be accessed, at the convenience of the participant?
Yes, so you can watch any of the webinars that we've done in the past, everything from our discussion on COVID-19 and the Fair Labor Standards Act to our discussion with some manufacturers across the Treasure Coast, and then a couple other marketing ones and how to maintain a positive mindset in an uncertain world. Some great topics that we've done the past couple of weeks. You can access all of those and register in advance for new ones at that youredc.com/BBRC site.
All right, Katie, incredible. Great work. Thank you very much. Bob, you with us?
I'm here.
Listen, Bob, you have been here. I got to give you credit. Well, both of you, Katie and Bob, both. I mean, let's see. We were out at the beach one day during our spring break, I think, and then we've all been back at the office since Tuesday, March the 17th. So I appreciate Katie and Bob and the rest of the team, SBDC team and CCTI team. We sort of got called in when the governor declared the emergency and opened up the emergency bridge loan and some other things. That's when the EDI team made up of the Bob's Corporate and Community Training Group and our Florida SBDC at IRSC, we kind of came in. So, again, I can't thank you and Katie and the rest of the team enough. You guys have worked awful hard since Tuesday, March the 17th, so I do appreciate it. Bob, I know, we don't have a definitive answer, but I wanted to kind of just briefly talk to you this evening just for a couple of minutes to want you to kind of give us your take, make sure that folks know the CCTI is still around and still exists, and it's been a little difficult to hold classes, but you and Susie and Connie and Joe, you're fast and furious reworking schedules, are you not?
We are, and the fiscal year just started July 1st, so we always have a little period here between the end of June and the beginning of July where we have to just kind of hang loose for a little while. Of course, COVID-19 has changed things, and we were able to jump in and assist the SBDC and the PBPC with the webinars, and we think they've been going great. We're 2/3 of the way through that program, and those are 1-hour segments. And you just had Debra Williams on there, and she's one of our great instructors, and we've got some people that specialize in stuff that that have been doing their things there. So we've been able to stay afloat and get some word out to the small business owners and try to help them through this crisis. As far as the CCTI, we are shifting gears now, and as the college tries to come up with the guidelines that meet the CDC guidelines, and we want to keep everybody safe, we're trying to find a way to open up the campuses and get people back into the classrooms. We still believe that face-to-face is the best way to do instruction, to learn. With the CCTI, we do a lot of team building projects. We do a lot of group discussion, and the people in the class feed off of each other and the comments, and you just can't replace that with online training. So we're excited about getting back into the classroom and offering some training, and we've got a few things coming up that we'd be happy to discuss in July. We'll have a kind of a soft opening here in July. And hopefully by August and September, we're back in the classroom and able to do a lot of face-to-face training again.
I know that as you point out, meeting CDC guidelines, you and Susie have worked very closely with facilities maintenance team, and you're designing the rooms and moving tables and chairs to accommodate social distancing so that you can try to put some at least smaller groups back in the classroom. But again, as I said earlier, some of your training programs are critical. People have deadlines on renewals of certifications and licensing, and so I know you guys are working awful hard to meet the guidelines and get some people back in the classroom. So we do appreciate what you're doing there.
The first one we're going to try to attempt is we do some training for process servers. The people in the process serving world, we have a 20-hour education, pre-certification, pre-licensing class that we do twice a year. And with that, we also have a 4-hour continuing education program. And on July 21st, we're going to bring 15 process servers into onto the campus and provide a live class for their CEUs. They need to be recertified by September 1st. The circuit court is being a little lenient and helping people because of the virus. So, but we're trying to get that done in a timely manner, and that'll be our first time to get people back in the classroom. So we're excited about that one. Yeah,
and you just completed the first of what is a new, very innovative program, the Marine Training Program. Just 30 seconds, just kind of describe that program, Bob. It's a great program.
Yes, we just had 5 graduates that earned the first certification out of 5 to become a superstar in the engine boat building world.
Right.
But the 5 of them have learned enough in order to do I believe it's a 20 or a 40-hour service.
Right.
To a Yamaha boat engine, and great stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's the partner with you on that program? It's a manufacturer, right? It's Yamaha is the partner on that program?
Yes, yes, sir. Yamaha stepped in, and we are a partner with the Yamaha engine company, and we've got 2 Yamaha engines in our training room, as well as great sets of tools.
Right.
Got some great instructors, and if you're interested in learning how to do a little boat engine repair, we're the place to be. And I think we're going to try to start our second introduction class on July 28th.
Okay.
That class meets on Tuesday and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 10:30.
Wow. Okay. So
you get 10 hours of instruction each week. The class is about 7 weeks long.
Okay.
So it's a good 70 hours of instruction, hands-on instruction, and a great program, and we're excited about it.
Okay. Well, listen, I do appreciate you guys jumping on to kind of update us on where we're at in some corporate training. I appreciate all you've done for the business community, both you and Katie. And with that, we will bring to close this segment of Small Biz Florida. Thank all our guests tonight, Professor Debra Williams, our good friend Bob O'Brien, and our Small Biz Florida producer, Katie Muldoon. And with that, we'll talk to you next week on Small Biz Florida.
You've been listening to Small Biz Florida right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world, and WSTU, Martin County's Heritage Station.